It's a bright new week, some more fresh discussion, a whole new Speedway conversation. It's episode 27. Welcome back to 360 Speedway. Is good with you and yours. Thank you for joining us for the latest offering, episode 27. More Speedway discussion to pique your interest. We hope that's the whole idea. Derek Smith back in the host seat once again. Let's get going, starting with introducing this week's lineup of Speedway punditry excellence. So first up, the man of many clubs. Hardly any of them are still in existence, sadly. His nickname really should be Jonah, but it's not. It is Robbo, Stuart Robson. Welcome back to the 360 fold.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody.
Next up, stepping back into the 360 breach, he survived a severe bout of man flu. That's lucky for him. It's lucky for us. Welcome back to 360, Mr. Felton, Dean Felton.
Hello, everybody.
And finally, making up this week's handlebar hero lineup. Since we last spoke to him, his beloved Ipswich have lifted the Premiership title, and he has no doubt invested in at least 16 new baseball caps to celebrate. A warm welcome back to Lawrence here. Hi, Lawrence.
Good evening, everyone.
Was a close 16 new baseball caps, Lawrence?
Yeah, another one tonight.
So collectively, this week's handlebar heroes, usual disclaimer applies. All of the views, all of the opinions expressed on 360 Speedway are those of ours as individuals and bear no resemblance to any clubs, former or current, that we are associated to. Okay, listen, I hope you enjoyed episode 26, limited to just 2 parts last week. It's just the way that things worked out, but still in excess of an hour's worth of Speedway chat for you to devour and hopefully enjoy. If you fairly recently joined the 360 Speedway Express, be aware that there is now many hours of back episodes covering many discrete Speedway discussion topics, all available for you to play back and enjoy again if you've seen them before, or some of them before, or for the first time. All available for you to pick your way through on our YouTube channel. And when you're on YouTube, click a few buttons and subscribe as well and become a subscriber to the 360 YouTube channel. I've got to say a special thank you to those of you who took care and time and were thoughtful enough to send me a message over the weekends to check on my well-being and my mental health following Friday night's uber dramatic Championship Grand Final second leg at Glasgow. Listen, wow, what an event, what an occasion. We'll revisit and talk a little bit more about it in part 2 of tonight's episode. But thank you for checking in on me. I am a lot better now than I was on Friday night, it's got to be said. Okay, back to this week then. Now the 360 team. Now, I'm letting into a little bit of a secret here, but the 360 team have a WhatsApp group that just keeps us all connected together, and it makes life easy when we try to tee up the handlebar heroes from week to week. And on that WhatsApp group, as you might expect, sometimes there is some stuff and nonsense gets shared. Sometimes there's some information remotely to do with Speedway, and sometimes, occasionally, there's a little bit of a debate breaks out. And one such debate was initiated just a week or so ago by Mr. Felton, and we're going to have I thought it was sufficiently of interest that it merited being aired and made given a little bit of focus on, because it's quite an interesting subject matter. So Dean Felton, this was your baby. Tee it up for us, Dean. Tell us how it came about and what your sort of opening views on this are.
Okay. Last year, it was about mid last year, there was a television meeting on from Sheffield, and I could hear in the background the race times, and they were around 61 to 63 seconds. In fact, I think in one race it was 64 or nearly 65 seconds. And I thought, what was the track record at Sheffield? Well, you can actually look up Sheffield's track records. And they were in 1980, let's say 86, I think, or 87, Sean Moran, Hans Nilsson, on an upright, were doing 61 seconds. So it's like, well, that basically tells you in 40 years and all the money we've ploughed into Speedway, we're actually going no faster than we were back in the 80s. And that was what sort of started the thing. And then, so I kept a track on Sheffield's times, and literally they are around the 61. I know Jack Holder did that track record, but you know, there's many people who say that was a glitch in the matrix or whatever that was. There was no way that time, it didn't represent any rest of the times in that meeting. No way that time was right. But even if it was, that was only going as fast as Ricky Ashworth in 2010. That was 16 years ago. So it's like, are we really going any faster? Well, I spoke to Lawrence, you know, on the WhatsApp group, and I think he was telling me about the Ipswich times. I think it's basically the bigger the track, the less gain we've had, because the smaller tracks tend to be, the times tend to be a bit better than they were 40 years ago. Whereas the big tracks like, well, it's not a big track, but you know, the fast tracks like Sheffield, the times are just the same. We're not going any faster. And there's a lot of factors in this. Obviously, you've got tyres, silencers, you know, carburetors, whatever the thing, you know, it's, yeah. But the fact is, tapes to tapes, we're not going any faster. I spoke to Jan Steckman about this, and he tells me that he believes we are going faster. And I was like, but we're not going faster. But he said that we go faster down the straights. But we're going that fast into the corners now. They're basically parking the bikes to like get out of the corner. Whereas before, because we didn't go in so fast, we was more of a constant speed. So we were faster around the corners back in the day, but we're faster on the straights now. But overall, we're still not going any faster. Lap to lap, lap tape to start to finish, we're not any faster.
Well, listen, it's actually a fascinating subject, and and listen, we all go along to Speedway. Many of us have been watching season on season for many years, decades even, and as opposed to even to the train time, maybe the any uplift in speed, etc., is just kind of invisible to the eye, right? It's still a, you know, the product itself doesn't lend itself to the human eye being able to pick up on, you know, a few hundreds of a second savings here or there. So Wellstein has you know, exampled Owlerton at Sheffield. You know, 360 speedsters, you will all know, you'll have records, you'll have old programs that might allow you to have a little bit of a browse back in time at your local track. And you know, we've got to take into account, Dean, quite rightly, any track alterations, right? Now, I don't know I don't know whether over 2, 3, 4 decades there's been any material track alterations at Owlerton, has there? Well,
I mean, they use different shale now to back in the day, because you can't get the like old shale, but the track itself is still the same shape. There was probably more dirt on it back in the day. I don't know. Probably was, probably wasn't. I mean, I've rode Sheffield back in the day, and it was like concrete. But it's like I don't know. Like, the one thing that has changed, and it's undisputed, is the ratio wheel spin to bike speed. You know, back in, I don't know, if you go back in the 80s, you're probably looking at the bike speed doing, let's say, 70 miles an hour, but the back wheel's spinning at 100 miles an hour. Where now the back wheel's probably spinning at about 120 miles an hour, but the bike speed is still the same. This is why, you know, the tyres wear out a lot quicker now.
Well, do you know what I'm going to say, Dean? So Rob, let's bring you in this. So here's what I'm thinking, right? So we'll talk about some of the potential features of a Speedway bike that might have contributed over time to making a bike a bit quicker, or you know, if that's what we'd expect would happen over a period of time as things advance, etc. But what I was thinking, Stuart, was in the sort of crudest way, you know, if an upright bike 25, 30 years ago was capable of doing 60 miles an hour or 65 miles an hour along a straight, and a modern bike today does 60 miles an hour or 65 miles along the same straight. 65 miles an hour then is the same as it is now, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say a little bit clumsily is, in terms of straight line speed, bikes, a speedway straight isn't that long, right? So you can't possibly surely be scraping off considerable amounts of time based on straight line speed alone, Stuart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I mean, the engines, I think, these days probably rev harder. The bikes are not as heavy as they used to be. I think the average weight of a bike, when I remember doing under 21 rounds in Germany and wherever else throughout Europe, and the bike always got weird. And yeah, your bike had to have a minimum weight of, I think, something like 78 kilograms. And they could depend, the bikes, that was then, they were laydowns as well then. I think back in the upright day, they were probably heavier again, so like 80 plus kilograms. Now I don't know what the weight limit is now. It's probably a bit less than that. I mean, the guys do all sorts to get as much weight off as possible, the lightning, this, that and the other, using titanium bolts and etc. So that's going to sort of make a difference in the theory is it gets you off the line faster because you're not as heavy.
Yes.
But because the back wheel's spinning faster, is it of any benefit? Is it because you're going to spin more? That's your back wheel's going to spin faster, like Dean's just been saying, and it's not going to grip as much as you would like. I mean, the back wheel spinning faster isn't always what you want. I mean, on the corners you need the back wheel to spin, but on the straights you don't want it to spin. You want it to hook up and go like, pure, like 100% grip. But you can't really. I don't think you're going to gain much just on the straights. Like you say, it's if they are faster, I don't really know, to be honest.
It's a fascinating subject, Lawrence. Just to bring you on in this, so when you think about it, Lawrence, Speedway doesn't stand still, the world doesn't stand still, and over a period of time, over decades, you would realistically expect that there would be an advancement in tooling, in materials. Robbo mentioned some of the fibre, carbon materials, etc., that's sort of lighter weight, and the general speedway science you might expect, Lawrence, will have developed over time, and that might allow engine tuners, riders to squeeze out a little bit more speed out of a bike. But thinking practically about it, there must be a limit. There must be an optimal tipping point, if you like, beyond which it doesn't make any sense, or there's no benefit to make a speedway bike go any faster. But because of just to be able to safely navigate around a speedway track. Does that resonate with you, Lawrence? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the probably revving, definitely revving harder. Now trying to squeeze. I mean, motorsport is naturally, involved in the way of you're always striving to go faster. And yeah, like any motorsport, it's always quicker, faster. Everyone tries to get an advantage in whatever way to push forward, but you are restricted a bit by these silencers now. They are, they changed them a few years back, and so that you've got a little bit of resistance there. And I think as well the tyres, even back in our day, when I see it riding, I think those Dunlops back then have got to be better than these analysts. Now, so we probably had a bit more grip back in the day, and there's probably a limit to what only certain sort of. There's only so fast you can go round in a circle, around the track. But I did do a bit. I'm going to agree with Dean and disagree a bit, because I did do a bit of digging back. I found some Sheffield race times, some programs back in the day as well, and some Ipswich times compared with now, some old programs, and I shared this with the guys on that and Dean on the WhatsApp group. Like Dean said, that they've took a bit of the camber off at Ipswich, although that's not really where, like, Emil broke a track record. He smashed it last year, or 2 years ago, and that's not really where he rides there. Like I explained, he can make he can cut the corner off a bit of a diamond shape, and still not lose your speed, not scrub it off, and you can still exit the corner with a lot of speed. He uses some really, really ingenious lines. But I did notice that the Sheffield times, the one that Dean posted up on the race times that he put up on the WhatsApp group, and a lot of those are in the 60s, and then also 61s against Leicester. But then, so I looked at a load more of them, and yeah, there's some 60s, 61, 62, some, like I said, in the 63s even, and 4s maybe like that. But back in the day, generally the race times that for as far as I can make out at Sheffield, the general overall average race times are around about 4 seconds slower back in the 80s compared with now. And the same with Ipswich. Emil's track record is a 55, believe it or not. In the 80s.
Am I right in thinking though, Lawrence, when Vauxhall was kind of remodeled, reshaped a few years ago, wasn't it? Was it made smaller? Am I wrong? Was it made slightly smaller?
Yeah, they brought some of it in they tried to create a bit more of, racy sort of track. But generally, it's not that much. I mean, it's not drastic. You're not talking drastic amount of difference. But race times back then were like in the 60, 62, 63s and higher. You're talking for a second a lap. I don't know how much the track changes will make a difference, but I think so. I agree in the fact that you could go quicker, but I think track records are a bit of an anomaly where where if all the stars align and people can go could go very fast, and they're often one-offs. Look at Hans Nielsen's, how long that stood. He smashed it, but they prepared that track, and everyone got there for Hans, and Heat 1, perfectly prepared track, and he made a perfect start, perfect 4 laps, and bang! Everyone looked to Heat 1 to see if Hans was going to break the track record, and he smashed it that day again, broke it that day, and it stood for years and years, and that was way quicker than the average lap times of all the meetings.
Of course, the other factor here, Lauren, let's be honest about it, the other factor is, and I'm not saying there's been any errors made, I'm not saying it for a second, but back in the day, pre-transponders, it was a human pressing a button and stopping on a stopwatch. That's how they did it. And my point is, it's open to human error or something.
But that Sheffield one's fascinating because it was chipped away. They were amazing times back then, unbelievable on uprights. So maybe perfect track, dirt on the track, perfect. Maybe an autumn evening where it's crisp and damp air. So the optimum speeds, better tyres, less restrictions on them. And I think everything lined up and bang, knocked out of the park. A hit and light years away from the average race times of the time, everything lined up and it was going. That Sheffield one, they're just chipping away at it over the years. They've only just took fractions and fractions off it. That's astonishing, really.
And maybe Lawrence, maybe Dean, maybe Rob, maybe the best scientific way to get underneath this would be to take averages over a season. So the average heat time for 2024 versus 25 versus 95, etc. Dean, I picked out, I haven't had a chance to go look at myself, but I picked out just a couple of examples from the details that you shared, Dean. And Jack Holder's current track record at Owlerton is, I haven't written it down, but I think it's just a smidgen under 59 seconds. Which is about 2.5 seconds quicker than Hans Nielsen's track record 40 years ago in 1985. So 2.5 seconds quicker, but it's only 1.7 seconds quicker than Stoney's track record in 1998. And here's the one I find most fascinating: it's Jack Holder's current track record is only 0.6 seconds quicker than Simon Stead's track record 20 years ago at Owlerton. So I think to your point, Dean, I think some of these heat times over a period of time probably suggest or probably confirm that bikes have gone a bit quicker. But to your point, Dean, it's not like night and day. It's not.
There's I went to Birmingham a lot this year, and yes, the track was absolute rubbish. But the times this year at Birmingham were the equivalent to Lee Smart riding at Birmingham in the National League 6-7 years ago. We're not going any faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, a lot of factors come into play, and maybe at Sheffield it's a bit of an anomaly because there's no straights as such.
Yeah.
It's a circle, so you're sort of not going in a straight line as such, especially not on the back straight or the back curve as it is, the back D shape. But it's like, even if it was 4 seconds, a second a lap, is that really worth the money that we've spent between the 80s and now?
Well,
has Speedway improved for 4 seconds for all the money we've spent?
And go back to what I was clumsily trying to say earlier on. Spectators wouldn't even notice an extra second per lap on race times. This
is a fact I've had with like spectators. They wouldn't know. 95% of spectators wouldn't know the difference between a Jap and an offset GM. They don't care. It's not what they do. That's not the fan, because Speedway is not a motorbike sport. It's not. It's a team sport on bikes. It's not a motorbike sport. I went to the Stafford motorbike show last weekend. One Speedway bike in about, I don't know how many, 25,000 people there. There was one Speedway bike, and all that was the Jower Owners Club. And ironically, it wasn't even a Jower, it was an ESO. But they were just like, there was one Speedway bike. There was I don't know. It was me, Jan Steckman, Nick Simmons, the Crew brothers, and I think that was the only Speedway people I saw there in about 25,000 people. They don't care. It's not a motorbike sport.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it isn't.
Yeah, and is that the reason, Dean? Is that the underlying reason why, when you around the Speedway circuits, you don't see too many motorcycle enthusiasts, do you? Yeah.
You don't see any, because it's so. This is a thing. It's going slightly off here, but I've got a thing where, who are we as a sport? Who are we trying to attract as a fan? Are we trying to attract the motorcycle world because we're not doing that, or are we trying to appease the team aspect, the team fan, because we're not doing that either? We seem to be right down the middle, attracting nobody. Like, I don't know who we are, what we're trying to be. Are we a motorcycle sport or are we a team sport?
Yeah.
Decide one of the two, because at the moment we're just appeasing nobody.
Yeah. That's quite a deep and profound thought process, Dean. But you're right. Yeah. And we did talk about a few weeks ago. We talked about what is the mission statement of British Speedway. What is it we're trying to achieve?
What are we trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Are we trying to? Because for me, Speedway will always be the team sport. I like the Grand Prix. Don't get me wrong, and the individual thing, whatever. But to me, it'll always be a team sport. Wolverhampton will always be my team. I was born there. It will always be my team,
Mm-hmm.
and. I went home and away with Wolves up until I started riding, but I went home and away with Wolves. I went to some dire meetings where there wasn't one pass. You go to Reading on a bank holiday Monday and there wasn't one pass. I didn't care, because it was my team.
Yeah.
And that to me is what Speedway is. It's about teams, or British Speedway is.
So it's a team sport on motorbikes, Dean. Is that what you said?
It's a team sport on motorbikes. Yeah. It's not a motorbike sport. A motorbike sport is like MotoGP or even motocross. You pay to ride. Whereas at Speedway, you're sort of in a team,
mm-hmm.
and it's the team. I think we've lost that team aspect. I think it's been diluted over the years, time and time again, and we've lost it.
Yeah.
And now we're attracting, we're just going down the middle, not attracting either the motorcyclists or the fans.
Yeah.
And like I say, the fans don't understand the difference between an offset and a Jap.
Mm-hmm. Rob, what do you think? Don't mean to ambush you, but what do you think of what Dean's been talking about in the last few minutes? That this sort of dichotomy of Speedway. What is it that we're trying to be? Who are we trying to appeal to?
I know when I was riding, I used to try and promote the team aspect of it within the team all the time. I was a team man. I like to think myself as a team man, and I always tried to push that as much as possible. What's being promoted these days, I don't really know. It's it's not attracting, like Dean says, it's not attracting any new people, regardless, either way, whichever way it's going. It's not attracting anyone, is it, at the moment? And unfortunately, it's kind of going a bit of dwindling away a little bit. So yeah, maybe it's trying to maybe it's one way to go. Try and push that, try and push the team aspect, and it's the team sport. I know we've always promoted as a family sport, but maybe you could promote as a family team sport or something. I don't know. It's I never thought about it the way Dean just said it. Until now.
That's what happens when you have a bout of man flu. You see, you develop all these radical thoughts. 360 speedsters. What do you think? Let us know what you think of Dean's observation about what British Speedway sets out to be and who it sets out to appeal to, etc. I think Dean's got there's definitely a point in there, and one observation that I've had over time is that it's very difficult to attract motorcycle enthusiasts. And there's tens of thousands of them in the country who.
I went to that Stafford show, and there was nobody, no bikes, no riders, no sort of representation, anything for Speedway. And there was I don't know how many was there. I went on the Saturday. There's got to be 25,000 people there. It was rammed, and it was just like nothing for Speedway.
Well, listen, we will park that line of inquiry, and I think we could develop a bit more of a discussion around that. Lauren's coming back into the original subject matter, which was about Speedway bikes becoming a bit quicker over time. But we've touched on a number of things, a number of component parts of a Speedway bike, Lawrence. We've talked about tyres, we've talked about maybe modern clutches, engines. Dean, I think, mentioned, or someone mentioned, it might have been yourself, Lawrence, mentioned track materials are obviously different as well. So as much as we're trying to compare yesteryear with today, that there are so many variables, and it's not quite apples with apples, is it?
No, that's right. And just to come back on what I agree. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, how fast they're going really within reason. I'd prefer to see better racing. Much better to see good races than someone miles in front and or everyone going very quick. So you don't even notice it really. Like Dean said, over the course of a race, and most fans don't notice it. And certainly new fans, you want to see entertainment, good racing, and that's what brings people back.
Dean, another point, and you'll know more about this than I certainly do, Dean. But there's lots of Speedway fans in this country who are big fans of national development level clubs or conference level Speedway, and they will acknowledge that the riders are they're up and coming and they're learning the craft, and they might be a little bit wilder than your more established senior riders. And the heat times aren't necessarily on par with Premiership or Championship. But, a couple of seconds here or there doesn't make any odds when it comes to enjoying the spectacle, does it?
I don't think the times are irrelevant, really. It's just what you want to see, like as I said, you want to see great racing with all riders together. It doesn't matter if all riders are a second slower, as long as they're all on the same at the same page, the same speed around the track. That's what you want. That's what fans want to see. They want to see great racing. They want to see a close, thing. They don't care what speed they're actually doing. They just. I use my missus as a typical Speedway fan, right? She's been brought up with Speedway all her life and everything. She's a typical fan. If I took her in my workshop and showed her my collection of bikes, she couldn't tell me the difference between that bike and that bike and that bike and that bike. Yet she's been brought up on Speedway all her life. Yeah. Because she's not a bike person. Yeah. She's a fan of Speedway, not a fan of motorbikes.
That could be me you're describing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my point. I mean, I'm obviously, bike orientated, but that's not why I follow British Speedway. I follow it. And that's why I go and watch meetings in Poland, because to be in that experience is, it's another world, and it's great to watch. And, I've been to Poland and watched the absolutely worst match, Gdansk against Torun in the playoff thing. There wasn't one pass in 15 heats, right? It was a whitewash for Torun. Yet to be in that crowd, what a night that was. It was out of this world. Yeah, yeah. It was fabulous because. We weren't really supporting the teams, but, to be in the Gdansk fans, because it was the home match, was just like, what fantastic experience. And
That-
that's what Speedway lacks. Is like Speedway as a sport isn't really that bad. What it is it lacks atmosphere. It lacks the want to be there. It's not so much what happens inside the track that's the problem. It's what happens outside of it that's the problem.
Stuart,
lost that.
well, it's interesting you say that, Dean, because Robbo, I think you were on the episode a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this, didn't we? We talked about the atmosphere inside the stadium and how the sort of stereotypical British Speedway supporter is a lot politer, a lot quieter, quite happy to clap hands, but not go mad like the Polish fans do. And that's just a cultural thing. I think was what we concluded.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's British people in general they tend to be, like you just said, a lot not as brash and as loud, and you get some are, don't get me wrong, but as a majority they're not, and they keep themselves a bit quiet. Like you say, the clap, if they got an air horn they might blow an air horn and stuff, but it's not like some of the other countries. And I'm personally one of them people that would be the same as that. I'm not one to try and sort of make a spectacle of myself and be really. That's how I look at it. I mean, it's not really, but you know what I mean. I don't want to be shouting and cheering, but although I do, when if I enjoy sort of commenting to myself, so to speak. You know, if I'm watching it on telly, but I'm not loud, or I'm not. You know, like football fans jump up and down, they shout and cheer, but the Speedway fans don't tend to do that, do they? So yeah, it's but that does create the atmosphere, doesn't it? Because when it comes to Cardiff, they do that. There's a big atmosphere at Cardiff, or GPs in general. I mean, I'll go back to Cardiff because that's the last sort of British GPs I went to were Cardiff, and they were great. The atmosphere and that was great, and the fans, they do make the atmosphere, they do make the meeting, and you do feel it when you're on the bike as well. So it's all part of it. And if you haven't got that atmosphere within the stadium, it can be a bit flat for you as a rider as well.
That makes sense.
You used to enjoy Cardiff not because of what happened inside the stadium, inside the track. You went because it was a laugh, it was a blast, it was great atmosphere, it was a drink, it was a meeting friends, it was the event. It wasn't what was happening inside the track, because quite often Cardiff was rubbish. The track was dire most of the time.
It was only the tend to be the last few heats that would be the best. You know, the last sort of half a dozen or so heats when it's getting to the sort of pinnacle of the meet, you know, and then obviously the final is where everyone really lets themselves go quite big time, you know, as far as the riders go, and because that's what it's all about. The meeting at any GP, you only need to win one race, and that is the final. You don't need to win any of those. You just need to win that one race at the final, and that's it. And you've really got to give it your all in that particular race. So it's.
I think it's definitely a two-way street, Dean. To your point, you know, sometimes the crowd needs the riders to excite them and to respond to, and vice versa. To Stuart's point, the riders sometimes need that from the crowd.
I mean,
spark
you
them.
know, when I was on the terraces at Wolves and Stuart came with Coventry, I hated him. I throw insults at him, and no, I didn't really. But you know what I mean. But that's I don't know whether you'd actually rode in one, but did you ever ride in a Dudley Wolves Trophy? I know you've got Coventry, but did you ever ride in a Dudley Wolves Trophy? Did you ever guest in one or anything? They were just like, it was war, and you'd go even if you didn't like Speedway, because Wolves fans hate Cradley and Cradley fans hate Wolves, and the atmosphere was just another level, and you just went for that.
Well, listen,
fight, but
talking about Cradley, and this is a little bit of a dangler here. So we are going to ask Dean to give us a bit of an update on his recent breaking news about a possible Cradley return. So stay tuned. That will feature within part 2 of episode 27. I can assure you, having been at Glasgow on Friday night, the atmosphere there was crazy, and that was the crowd feeding off the action they seen on track, and the riders in turn were feeding off the crowd. It very much was that two-way street in evidence, and we'll also talk about that shortly in part 2. If you're watching on YouTube, do nothing. Part 2 will auto start in about 20 seconds. Okay, welcome back to episode 27, Fans Pulse Lap 2. A little bit of a promo, just wanted to squeeze in a quick reminder that we have now opened our Speedway Experience Day competition for the month of October, and we invite you to nominate yourself or someone else that you know by the end of this month to win an all expenses paid place, all the equipment and all the tuition on a Speedway Experience Day to be staged at the Scunthorpe Mini Track, and this is courtesy of our partners AMSA, the Amateur Motorcycle Speedway Academy. So have a look on our Facebook page. We have pinned have we pinned the post? There is a post which was published, I think, on the 6th of October. So you might have to scroll back to find it. We'll try and pin it to the top of the page if we can. 6th of October, and all you've got to do is comment below that post and tell us why you or someone that you would like to nominate should win a place, an all expenses paid place for a Speedway Experience Day. Okay, on to Fans Pulse Lap 2 then. So listen, we're loath to allow the opportunity to pass to pick up and pay attention and talk a little bit about some newsworthy Speedway matters, which you hopefully will be very interested in hearing about. So we're going to have a bit of a discussion that we've entitled Reflecting and Thinking, which sounds very profound, doesn't it? Just before we do that, do you have a discussion topic that you would like us to tackle on a future episode? If you do, you know what to do. Get in touch, either comment if you're a subscriber on our YouTube channel, or select your social media platform of choice, be that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can email us, you can even WhatsApp us. You'll see all the different methods and means of contacting us circulating the screen as you watch this. Get in touch and suggest what you would like us to talk about. Okay, gents, listen, I've talked about it a couple of times already, or I've hinted about it. I'm in a much better place now than I was on Friday night. Listen, it was a nervy week last week, the Championship Grand Final. The whole Championship campaign led up to that playoff between Poole and Glasgow. The best two teams, I think it was the correct and appropriate final. And Friday night at Glasgow was the second leg. Glasgow chasing down a 12-point deficit from that first leg at Wimborne Road last Wednesday night. And by crikey, it was a nervous old night. I can tell you. Glasgow, you might have seen some of the footage courtesy of BSN, who do an incredible job, incidentally. You know, their production quality and everything they wrap around it is superb. So big kudos to all the boys and girls at BSN. And listen, it was an absolute battle royal over the two legs, and very befitting of a grand final. Dean, Stuart, Lawrence, did you take any of the action on Friday? Have you seen any of the footage at all?
Only clips.
Just some clips. Well, I'm going to play a clip in a second. Robbo, did you see any of it? No.
I didn't know. No, I don't have Speedway and that's the BSN. And I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he has it, and he said how good a job it do. You just reiterated pretty much what he said. He said did a fantastic job. It's really good. So it's something I'll probably look at getting for next season.
Get it for your Christmas, Robbo. That's what I'm going to do. Ask for a subscription for my Christmas. But listen, I'm going to bring on screen right now. I'm going to bring on screen Heat 15. So. I just want to sit back and enjoy this. I've muted the sound, but so you're welcome to talk over this or ooh or ah at any moment. But picture the scene. We got to Heat 15. The aggregate score was level, 87 apiece, and quite frankly, either team, if they could secure a heat advantage in Heat 15, they were going to be league champions. Right? That was how it was. That was how it was teed up on Friday night. So. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to hit play right now and sit back and have a watch of this. So you can see the scores there. So Chris Harris, Kyle Howarth up against Richard Lawson and Zach Cook, and you can imagine the atmosphere and the tension in the stadium. a packed crowd. I think there were 2,000 or so people in Ashfield on Friday night. And it was all down to this Heat 15. So as you can see, a solid start from the pool pairing. Zach Cook, Richard Lawson, looking like they were set to clinch the league title for pool, but they hadn't banked on Chris Harris, so you can see now. And just watch Chris Harris. You just seen him pass Richard Lawson there, tucking under his handlebar. And now he's setting after Zach Cook. So even right now, towards the end of lap 2, it's still an advantage to pool as things stand. But Chris Harris was having none of it.
Vintage bomber.
I mean, that was a very exaggerated duck underneath that Cook's elbow, but by crikey, it brought the house down.
Unbelievable.
How does he do it, Lawrence? How does he do it, age 42?
Incredible. That track just lends the bomber style as well, and the way these race lines and racecraft. I mean, that was one of my favourite tracks back then. I think it's been improved, but amazing place. Fantastic racetrack.
Listen, I would encourage you. There's some BSN footage that you can pick up on YouTube. So if you search BSN, British Speedway Network on YouTube, you'll be able to enjoy that race with the commentary, etc. And there's more action besides on there. But that was a Roy of the Rovers type effort by Bomber. Yeah. He was unbeaten. He scored a 5-ride maximum in the main meeting, and then the whole championship title went to a super heat. As if Heat 15 hadn't been nervous enough, we went to a super heat, and it was the same 4 riders came back out, 5 minutes after Heat 15, and to their credit, Richard Lawson and Zach Cook done the job. They did the business, and the league title was retained by the Pirates, and it was fine margins. The super heat, it was a beautiful way to win if your team wins, but by crikey, it's a sore way to lose. Dean, have you seen a super heat?
I saw the meeting in full.
Did you watch it? Yeah,
so I watched it. Yeah, there's a couple of points I was thinking. Kyle Howarth's move on Zach Cook in, I don't know what heat it was, but that was borderline.
That was playoff Speedway, Dean Phil. That was playoff Speedway.
Well, maybe, but it was borderline sort of dangerous. And I wouldn't have put Kyle Howarth in the race-off because he tailed off a bit towards the end of that meeting, and he wasn't making starts. And I just think they should have changed him in that race-off for either Dan Thompson, somebody who can make starts, or Leon Flint, who was getting better as the meeting went on. Yeah. And I just think, it may not have made a difference, because Bomber was nowhere in that race.
Exactly. But to your point, Kyle didn't have his best night of the season, but he still had scored 9 points or something.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. But in those last 2 rides, he really tailed off. He was nowhere in both of them, in Heat 15 and the race off. And I think because Dan Thompson was making better starts, Kyle's probably a harder rider. Yeah. But I think if they could have made a start, maybe Glasgow would have won. But it was a great atmosphere. It was a great advert for Speedway. It was fantastic to watch.
It genuinely was. Then, Lawrence, just to bring you in, we're talking there about the nerves and all that good stuff. I can't comprehend how even for a last heat decider in a regular league match or a cup match, I can't comprehend how much under pressure riders must feel when they line up at tapes for a last heat decider. Never mind a super heat to win the league title, Lawrence.
No, that was a perfect script. When I watched on the updates when I got in, I saw that I watched it, claw it back, and then go to that, and just unbelievable. You couldn't have written it any better, lots of pressure going into that. Yeah. But a lot of riders will thrive off that pressure. It gives them a buzz. You can get a buzz out of it going on the track, and like you say, with 2,000 people there, and the fans going and lots of noise and everything, it can lift a lot of people's game as well as other people. They can crumble or buckle a little bit. The nerves can get to them, but I think we spoke about back in the day that me and Robert had done the Edinburgh Glasgow KO Cup final back in the day. '93 or something, or something like that.
A long time ago, Lawrence.
Yeah, full heaving, absolute packed. Edinburgh, Glasgow, local derby as well in the final. And you can really, I remember that was really thousands of people there, and it can really give you a buzz and make you, go that sort of bit extra on the night. So it can work in your favour,
I remember it well. You're right. It was the end of the '94 season. Robbo, just to bring you in, inevitably, Stuart. I spent I went to bed on Friday night. My head was still racing with it all, and I was thinking about over the 2 legs. I was thinking, what if this hadn't happened, and what if that had happened? But that's just the nature of Speedway. Poole and Glasgow riders both had some misfortune along the way. Some riders lost scoring positions when you might not have expected them to. And that's just Speedway, right?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, I used to think the same, when, especially if you get a close meeting like that, and you just think, God, if only I'd have scored one more point, or if only that person had scored one more point, or he'd have scored 1 point less, that would have made all the difference. So yeah, we all think like that, and it's the nature of it, and it's one of them. It's after the sort of horses bolted thing, so it's like what's happened, don't you? So you know what's going to happen. So you think, if I'd only have done that, if I'd only have gone this way and not done that, and yeah, but it's what you do. I guess it's all sports, isn't it? You do it in all sports. You would think back and think, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this, or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's kind of a good thing, I guess, isn't it? Because it shows you how much you're sort of into it, and you really, really wanted to win, and you say, oh man, and you got down, and you think, oh, why did I do that, or why didn't I do this, and you sort of, it can get you down a bit actually if you think about it too much. But you've got to learn to get over it after the night happened, and that's it. It's over and done with. You can't change anything. You won or you didn't win, whichever way it went. So you either celebrate or you're not.
Someone has to win and someone has to lose. But there's losing and there's losing. That was the slimmest of margins. Dean Felton, though, across the Premiership and the Championship Grand Finals, they were both televised. They both allowed supporters to tune in and watch them. But both of those meetings, the drama, the tension, it's really a big tick in the box for retaining playoff Speedway.
It was, and unusually there were no guests in either final.
That's true.
All 4 legs.
True.
Yeah. So all teams were full strength. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see the Poole leg, but I hear it was rubbish. There's no passing it. Yeah, I like I say, I didn't hear that. But
let's just say there was much less passing at Poole than there was at Glasgow.
I think is it Cammy Brown? Is that his name? I think he was very diplomatic at the end where he says, Speedway was the real winner. When he doesn't mean that. He's absolutely seething that he lost to Poole, and he knows it. But he was very diplomatic in the way he came across at the end.
Well, listen, please note that my teeth are not remotely gritted, and I was on the microphone on Friday night and interviewed a few Poole riders, and I shook all the hands of Neil Middleditch and Dan Ford and all the Poole riders, and I congratulated them because someone has to win, and
you can't say that Poole didn't deserve to win.
No.
But also you can't say Glasgow deserved to lose though.
Anyway, for the final time, I'm going to say congratulations, Poole, and let's move on to the next topic, which is actually, in fact, let's do this one. Let's do this one first, and then Dean, I'll invite you to give us a bit of an update on Cradley. So I just wanted to an off-track success for everyone connected with Peterborough Panthers. Carol Johnson, congratulations to you, and I'm saying congratulations because. Everyone connected with Peterborough received some tremendously encouraging news this week. We're at a meeting of the city's Planning and Environmental Protection Committee. Plans for the creation of 1,500 homes plus a leisure village were flatly refused. So that doesn't automatically mean that all bets are off and the Speedway can walk back into the showground. But I think I read some comments today which suggest that it was a news that Peterborough wanted and Speedway wanted, and it allows it allows some discussions around a potential return of Speedway to the showground to now take place. So we'll get a direct update from Carol next time he's on. But suffice to say, congratulations to everyone connected with Forever Panthers Limited and all the supporters at Peterborough. Some highly encouraging news. Stuart Robson, I know we've touched on it before. Coventry, Peterborough, whoever it might be, it would be terrific. A big shot in the arm to get some of these clubs back into business again.
It would be fantastic. Peterborough was a track I used to enjoy going to, and one of the things the best meetings at Peterborough, I always used to like the 4-team tournament. I used to love going down on Sunday back in the day, and it was a full day, so you were either riding all day if you went as a rider, or you were sort of riding for a little bit and then watching for the rest of the day. But it was a great day for all. I only ever remember the weather being really good, so it was always like a great day out as well, And so it would be fantastic to have Peterborough back. It's there's not really. I mean, it's sort of Midlands, isn't it? It's not quite. It's not too far away, but another track in the Midlands area would be good.
Wall to wall sunshine in Peterborough. Who would have thought it? So listen, we will get an update from Carol next time he's on. And just a reminder that the Panthers will be back on track this Saturday night in a challenge meeting at West Road Stadium in Mildenhall, and our very own Simon Lambert is going to be pulling on a Panthers race bib once again, with Carol Johnson managing the Panthers select team. So hopefully there's quite a number of Panthers fans who will travel through to West Row and cheer on the Panthers. Good luck to all concerned. Dean Johnson, as billed. The last time you were on a couple of weeks ago, Dean, you caused a bit of a stir. You were an internet sensation almost, because you exclusively revealed, and thank you for doing so, that there was some very strong and positive moves behind the scenes to bring back Cradley Speedway. And I have asked you off camera whether you have an update, and I believe you do.
Yeah, the meeting went ahead last Wednesday with the council. Basically, the council's stance on this is it's greenbelt land, and it's in between two biggest towns, and they'd like to keep it greenbelt land. They'd like to keep like a buffer zone between these two towns. But how can I say this? It's like Cradley wants to be like a model of Workington. And Workington, if you know the track, it is like the greenest track ever. It's not like a stadium. It's like a park, like a country park with a track in the middle of it. And that's basically what they're trying to do. But you've got to convince non-Speedway people who don't sort of understand what Speedway is, and that's basically the stance of where it is. They didn't say no, and they've gone away to get their concerns and bring them back to the table of what those concerns are, and they will be addressed by Cradley Youth Next Generation when they next meet up. But the council said that they've got a lack of football pitches in the area, and Cradley Next Generation said, because the track will be the same size as Bellevue, they can fit a football pitch in the middle of the centre green, and they seemed interested. It's sort of, it's not a big deal to put a football pitch in the middle of a track, so it's like that works in Cradley's favour. But they haven't said no. That's the point, and Cradley move forward to the next time they meet, and hopefully they can get to the point where all the concerns have been addressed, which most of them have, but there's obviously a few more, and they can put in the planning permission.
Well, and thanks, Ian. I appreciate you giving us the update, and I know you've obviously had authorisation to do exactly that. So thank you to those of you involved behind the scenes at Cradley, and for fighting the fight for that particular club and for the sport. Dean, do you happen to know, just a kind of related question, do you happen to know if the history of Speedway in the town is of benefit? Can that be leveraged to try and
see that? One of the things, this is not what the council have said, but a problem with Cradley is it shut in basically 1995, right? So Cradley Heath as an area, it was on the map for two things. It's chain making and drain covers. You know, it's like industrial thing and the Speedway. That was all Cradley Heath is on the map for.
Okay.
Both of those have gone now. But if you were born after 1995, you have no idea what those were to the town.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, I'm not saying the councillors were underneath that age, but you know, so there's no. If they closed down a couple of years ago, it might have been in their favour. But the fact was, because it was 30 odd years ago, it's not really working. Plus, the one thing that doesn't work in their favour, it's not Dudley Council.
Okay.
So it's a council that's not
Right.
not had Speedway before.
Okay.
It's basically, it borders into their council by about half a mile.
Okay.
It's like it's literally half a mile from Dudley Council, but it is another council. So you've got that, but like I say, they haven't said no. They've got concerns, but these concerns can all be addressed. Like I said before, it's the perfect place. And I suppose, yes, they want to keep like a buffer zone between the towns, if you like. They want to keep it a green belt land, but like I say, it's a field. It's not like it's a village, or it's a field that you won't even see.
Yeah, you're not building an Aston Villa ground or something, are you?
Exactly. You won't even, like, you can't even see it off the road because it's sunk into the ground. It'll be dug. The track will be dug into the hillside, if you like. So, and I've drove past it and had a look, and you wouldn't even see it if it was there now without digging it into the ground, because there's trees all the way around it. You won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's, you know, and it's private land, so it's not like you're asking the council for land.
Yeah.
It's the private land which has already got a deal with it.
Mm.
All they want is planning permission, but it's obviously that's where we're stuck at. Or I say we, I'm not part of it, but that's where we're stuck at the moment. It's they've got to convince the council it's what they want. Okay. And this is where I'll say this: the actual consultants, the company from London, they have actually said to like the Cradley people, "I can't believe you've got this far without the help of your governing body."
Well, yeah.
And again, the governing body, where are they?
Yeah, yeah.
Where are they with any track? Where are they? They don't even answer the phones. There's no help whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know, there is people helping, like within Speedway, but not the official people.
And that, you know, in any shape or form, that's got to be considered quite highly disappointing, in my view. Well,
when the consultant says, you know, things like that, I can't believe you've got this far with it. They obviously deal with all sports, rugby, cricket, football, whatever the sports may be. Mm-hmm. And obviously the governing bodies of those sports obviously fully back any team that wants to build a stadium or whatever. And they must think, I can't believe they don't get any backing off their governing body. It's like... Mm-hmm. You know, and Sport England as well. I know there's politics involved with Sport England, but they're just like, they don't want to know.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds, the outside looking in, it sounds like the people involved are highly capable, and they need to take the council on a bit of a journey to understand exactly precisely what the footprint and the use and the look and feel of that.
You can't think. Well, I can't. Well, we wouldn't think there is anything. It's like, it's not a nuisance to anybody. It's not, you know, it's not impacting on the environment. It's not doing anything. But it's just, they keep saying they want this buffer zone between towns. They don't want anything built in it. But it's, I don't know. But they haven't said no. That's the thing. They've got concerns.
There must be, without getting into it in detail, and I'm not privy to any detail, obviously, but you know, there must be some economic benefits to the area to introduce a sporting facility and attract visitors to the area.
The council raised the point about, you know, it's like, I don't obviously, because they don't understand Speedway, right? They don't understand what it is, what it pertains to be. But obviously, Speedway, if you've got a big meeting on, which, let's face it, Cradley would be a big team if it come back. If there's one team that could support the Premier League, it's Cradley, right? Because they've got a massive fan base. You've got to think of the local area benefiting from that, local pubs, local hotels, local whatever, right? So they mentioned this, and the woman says the councillor said, well, you know, the local pubs closed down. Yeah, because it's not getting people in, but it would get people in. That's the point.
Yes.
You know, and then they said, oh, the local hotel's really struggling. Well, it will be because nobody's going there. But if there was a speedway track there,
Absolutely.
you know, it's like we've got to, you know, it gets kids off. We've got to be seen as an asset. I mentioned this the last time. We've got to be seen as an asset to the community and not a pain in the arse that we're seen as now. And this goes back to my original thing about where is the manifest from Speedway to say, this is Speedway, this is what we are, this is what we do, this is our impact, you know, on the local thing, this is what we can bring to the area, this is what we are. We need that thing, whatever it is, document or a go-to video or I don't know, anything. We need something, but we've got nothing.
Yeah, and do you know what, Dean? You know, if that document doesn't exist, it can't take too much effort to pull together the content of it, because many individual clubs will have had to source that information for their own.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, to me, I'm not saying, obviously this doesn't go for every stadium. It didn't go for Bellevue or things like that. But Workington, to me, should be the prototype, if you like, because that's a fantastic little track, a fantastic little stadium. Right. And it's, I mean, like I say, I'm not one for the environment. I couldn't care less. But, you know, if you're talking about environmental, it's got wind turbines in the pits, for God's sake. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and the whole thing's built out of wood. It is like a country park with a track in the middle. And it's like, that should be the go-to thing to take to a council and say, this is what we want to do. This is who we are. You know, it's once a week for 3 hours, maybe a practice day. In the other days, you can use the football pitch in the middle. This is a community asset. We're not asking you to pay for it. We're paying for it ourselves. All we want is the permission to go ahead and build it. That's all. Yeah.
Well, let's do that. I appreciate the update, and do keep us updated if you're allowed to do that. And it sounds like the guys involved are super passionate and super capable, and I'm sure meeting by meeting they'll make the progress that they need to. And you've mentioned Workington, Andrew Bain. I've been in touch with Andrew. Andrew's going to come on for a chat on 360 Speedway, hopefully in the next few weeks. We look forward to that. Okay, moving on. The next notable thing, which some people know about and some people don't, the British Speedway AGM is coming up. I can confirm it will be. It has been scheduled to commence on, I think it's Wednesday, the 12th of November. It's going to be in Rugby, so no jetting out to Tenerife or anything this year. And it's the 12th of November for a couple of days, I think, to discuss and resolve and rubber stamp hopefully all of the things that they've been talking about for weeks already. Now, listen, nothing I'm about to say is based on any sound knowledge or any inside information. Absolutely not. This is completely pieced together by me observing things on social media. So a little bit of amateur detective work on my part. Guys, if you know anything different, please shout out. But from what I can see, what Stuart Dixon told us a few weeks ago on 360 Speedway probably is likely to be the shape of British Speedway in 2026, and that is no merging of the leagues. So it still looks like, to be confirmed, but it still looks like we may very well have separate Premiership and Championships. The Championship unlikely to be changed from its current construct, and the Premiership looks like it's going to be based on 5 clubs. Lawrence, I don't know if you've heard anything, Lawrence, or using your own amateur detective work. Do you agree or disagree with my conclusion?
Yeah, I think that's basically what we're looking for. I did hear rumours of a club coming up, but personally, I don't know. I can't see it. It's going to be a bit of an ask for that club that was rumoured if it's the case. But yeah, I think it's pretty much what we thought it was going to be. But as we spoke about before, there's TV deal, Row, the Row, that sponsorship came to an end, and that probably a deal for the league like they've done that relies on a speedway speedway on TV, no doubt. So maybe they got something up their sleeve with Harry. I don't know. Who knows?
You've got to hope so, Lawrence. You've got to hope so. Yeah.
Exactly, and they've got hope as well. It's all in their interest. It's in everyone's interest. You know, I mean, it'll be really interesting. I know Dean said on here the other week maybe some radical changes, but let's see. You know, let's hope it's all for the.
Listen, I'm going to ask Dean about his radical changes in a minute, but Rob, just before we do, you know, if what I've just suggested comes to fruition in 2026, we line up with no league merger, no particular change in the landscape in terms of, you know, fixtures or anything like that, and we've actually lost a club in the top flight, and as things stand, we don't have any television deal. That's a poorer position than this season, Stuart.
It is, yes. I mean, how do you run a league with 5 teams? It's going to be difficult because every second or third week you're going to have the same team back on you. So, or second or third meeting. Sorry, I'm guessing they're going to run probably once every 2 to 3 weeks at home. But yeah, it's not ideal, is it? I mean. But what can you do? It's the position they're in at the moment, and they're trying to make the best of it. So, you know, we've got to try and get behind them as you know, and as best as possible, really, because if that's where it's going to be, that's where it's going to be. And so we've just got to sort of get on with it, really, and try and, you know, encourage other clubs to go up, or encourage, you know, help new clubs come back in, like to the leagues, like the likes of Dudley. Or Cradley Heath, sorry. Yeah, that's going to be a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, the Championship is in a lot better position because there's a lot more teams. Mm-hmm. And I think Poole saw this happening coming a couple of seasons back and dropped down to, I don't think they're any worse off, are they? Their wage bill's gone down and their crowds are probably the same. And they're just as successful. So it's one of them, isn't it? Yeah, the Premiership might struggle a bit. I don't really know. Hope not, but it's not looking good for them at the moment. If that is the way it's going to go.
Sounds about right. Do you know? I gave you a heads up that I was going to ask you this, but you know, if the league structure is the same as it currently is, then the only thing that potentially could yet change and refresh the product is some sort of radical change. Have you heard any more from?
I've heard nothing. It's absolute silence. But it's like, I don't know. Something's bubbling away in the background. They're not saying what it is, but you know that you saw the paper headlines yesterday. Harry Redknapp sat on that bike saying, "What's his name? Barry Hearn. Come on, Barry, make Speedway some money." It's on the front page of the paper. I don't know which paper it was. I just saw the picture. It was on the Sun.
It's fun,
you know,
yeah.
It's like, or it's not on the front page, but you know, it's like, come on, Barry, let's. So, match is it match play, match room? Are they going to come in? I can't see them really taking on League Speedway. That's the thing, because I watched the documentary of them this week just to see if they mentioned it and Speedway, because they do all sorts of sports, and like, yes, they could make it successful, but you know, there's a lot of ifs in that, but there's definitely something going on. You know, this Harry Redknapp thing doesn't make sense at all. Harry Redknapp does nothing for nothing. Do you know what I mean? So there's obviously something in it for him. And, you know, if he was going to do something for nothing, it certainly wouldn't be for Speedway. So there's definitely something going on. But by God, it needs it. I don't think we can run with a 5-team league. It doesn't, you know, I'm a Speedway fan. It doesn't interest me. Not the same 5 teams. No. I got fed up with it last year, seeing Ipswich God knows how many times. And, you know, it was like, we need variety. And if they're not going to do one big league, which I think the majority of the fans want, or it's not so much that they want one big league, they just want variety. Who are they appeasing? Who are they playing to with 5 teams? To me, that's just playing I don't know, to the rich clubs, if you like. I'm not rich in the rich sense, but the Ipswich, who obviously they're making a fair bit of money, and Leicester are probably doing well. I don't know whether Bellevue's doing well, because from what I've seen, the crowds weren't that great this year. It's like, who are they playing to?
Yeah.
Who are they appeasing? Because they're not appeasing the fans.
No.
So it's like,
I completely agree, Dean. And in a previous episode, this isn't me trying to be smart, but I do remember saying, we talked about thinking bigger and acting bigger, etc. I do remember saying the easiest thing for them to do is to change nothing. That would be the easiest solution. Don't change anything. Don't be radical. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we're all tripped up by some lovely, pleasant surprise in approach, but. It doesn't sound like it, but based on the old.
I just think it's too quiet.
Yeah.
Everything is too quiet. It's never been like this before.
Mm-hmm.
It's too quiet. Not even riders know.
Yeah.
It's way too quiet for something not to be going on in the background.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, we can but hope. So we're getting closer. So 12th of November, I believe, is day one of the AGM. Usually by the end of that week or across that weekend, we would begin to hear some news breaking. So, and we'll obviously pick over all of that once it breaks here on 360. Moving on, the next thing I wanted to it's an appeal actually. This is an appeal for your support and action out there in 360 Speedway land, please. Do you follow the 360 Speedway Facebook page? Latest numbers, almost week by week, they are increasing. We're now over 1,200 followers on our Facebook page and growing by the day, by the week. However, if you do follow our Facebook page, I would like you to do something for me, please. So I'm going to switch screens to this. So on the screen, you will see, if you go onto the 360 Facebook page, you will see pinned to the top a couple of posts. The one on the left-hand side that's got the yellow headed writing Facebook followers, that's the one to look out for. It's a pinned post, and all I need you to do, please, is to access that particular post, click on the link that's in there. It's a safe link. We created it. That will take you to another web page, and all you need to do is select from a list the club that you support, and then click on the vote button. That's it. 10 seconds. Click on the link, select the club that you support, click on the vote button, job done. And what that will do is begin to profile the clubs that our 360 Facebook page followers support. And it's just a fun thing. It's just a bit of interest, but we would quite like to know which clubs are best supported and least supported within our Facebook followership. So if you would do that for me, that would be much appreciated. We've only got less than 50 people have done it so far, and we've got 1,200 Facebook followers. If you don't follow our Facebook page yet, then please do that. Click on it, search it out, click on it, give us a follow, and on your social media platform of your choice, and please, most certainly, on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I'll try and keep the nagging on that to a minimum. And the last thing I wanted to touch on, guys, and we don't know, as we've just been talking about, we don't know the agenda for the AGM, but I just wondered whether spectator safety should feature or will feature. And obviously, it's a bit of a nod. I'm referencing the recent events at Redcar Speedway, which fortunately worked out favourably in so much as no one was seriously or permanently hurt. Thank God. But I'm kind of hoping that scare might have jolted the sport into just a bit of a refocus on all things health and safety within our speedway stadiums, and I guess just to raise consciousness within the speedway going public, new and existing, that going to watch speedway has got some inherent dangers to it. In the same way that you're aware of dangers when you cross a road or whatever it might be, you play on a riverbank or something like that. You know the dangers around that, and I guess I just want supporters attending Speedway to have an awareness, and for Speedway clubs to have an awareness of those risks. Lawrence here, am I being over dramatic, Lawrence, or we shouldn't be ignoring what happened recently at Redcar, and making use of that just to shore up our sort of risk defences, Lawrence.
No, that's right. I mean, safety when spectators go is obviously paramount. You have to, keep that in mind. Obviously, that's a given, really. But at the end of the day, as well, you don't really want to go the other way, where you tie yourself up in too much legislation that forces tracks to go, further and further to be over cautious. So you don't want that aspect of it as well. But you get blips and one-off and instances. Unfortunately, it's always something that slips through the net, But no, hopefully it will work out,
Thank you very much. And the final thing I wanted just to throw in on this particular segment is draw attention to, it's possibly almost the final action of the season in the UK. There's a very interesting looking 14 tournament at Cowley in Oxford on Thursday night. So by the time this episode is published, hopefully that will have been
called off.
Has it been called off? Thank you, Dean. That's up to date information. So it's not been staged at all, or has it been postponed?
I don't know whether it's been restaged, but it's been called off. Okay,
I hadn't picked up on that before we press record. But let's hope that meeting is going to be restaged, and that would allow some select teams of defunct or resting Swindon, Wolves and Coventry to take to track, and it'll give some supporters of those resting clubs the chance to go and make some noise and cheer on the riders wearing their race spurs. It's a lovely way to try and round off the season, and credit to Oxford for hopefully yet pulling off that particular fixture. So there we are, a few subjects thrown in to this particular mix, all things we hopefully will have breached the consciousness of us Speedway fans.
Can I just mention one thing about the Speedway show on the 15th of November?
Go ahead.
Just give it a plug. It's at the British Motor Museum in Gaydon. Encourage any fan to go there. It's a great day. It's a shame it's not, supported by the BSPL. But, there's some great memorabilia there, some great fans there, and it's a great day. It's a lovely venue. It's the Gaydon Motor Museum, which is basically the Aston Martin factory and the Aston Martin place. So it's a great place. It's on the 15th of November.
15th of November. There we are, folks. Okay. And can you pay at the doors, Dean?
Yeah. And I think it's only a £5 or something like that.
Okay. So there we are. We're creeping into the long winter months with no Speedway to go and attend, but that sounds like the perfect event to get together with some Speedway minded people.
I'll have plenty of bikes there that you can buy.
Dean. There we are. Send us some photographs, Dean, will you? Listen, I think that will do it for episode 27. We have been for a couple of weeks suggesting that we're going to do another feature called Reheating History, and we will do that. But I'm just conscious the couple of segments that we've had already this week have stretched into the usual sort of duration time that we target. So we will call a halt to episode 27. Stuart Robson, Dean Felton, Lawrence here, thank you very much for your company once again, guys. I appreciate you stepping into the breach, and I just remind the people, keep across our social media output. We love your interactions. Give us some thumbs up whenever you see a post on Facebook, and in particular on YouTube. In fact, if you haven't yet hit the thumbs up on YouTube, please do that now before the end of this video. And look after yourselves. There might not be too much Speedway to go trackside and enjoy over the coming week or so. But we will be back with some more chats next week. And until then, look after yourselves. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.